Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And, not all of the greatest recordings ever are like old, cranky, things from my childhood. Some of them probably came from your childhood, if you're a little bit, younger than I am by a few decades, including this one. And this was very exciting to me. This is Beethoven's Triple Concerto, coupled to his Septet with David Zinman, Yefim Bronfman, piano, Gil Shaham, violin, Truls Mork, cello. You're not going to get a greater collection of soloists than that. And it's with the Tonhalle Orchestra of Zurich on Arte Nova. And it's available in various configurations. There's a Zinman does Beethoven box, and which is interesting, actually. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. And then there's like this single one, and then there's the big Zinman does symphonies box, which is like long out of print. So I shouldn't have even mentioned it probably. But why does this matter so much? Well, first, let's talk about the Septet. The Septet is a gorgeous early work of Beethoven. It has its own opus number, opus 20, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movements. It's a big serenade-like thing. And it was his most popular piece of instrumental music in his lifetime, which is why he grew to despise it, of course, because he'd written more important, more sublime things, and no one was paying as much attention to them as they were the Septet. Poor old Beethoven, isn't it sad? It's delightful. The music is charming and gracious and inviting and relaxed and none of the things we usually think Beethoven ought to be, which is, full of turmoil and idealistic striving and all of that stuff. But it's a delightful work, and it was an important work in its day because it really served as the model for, Spohr's Septet and Nonet and number X et, whatever you want, Schubert's octet. There's all kinds of pieces for large mixed ensembles of strings and woodwinds. I mean, this one is for violin, viola, clarinet, horn, bassoon, cello, and double bass. And so you've got, mixed winds and strings. I mean, they're lovely works. The combinations are delightful. They're so ingratiating and pleasant to listen to. This is an absolutely fabulous performance of it. But that's not the point. The point is the Triple Concerto, Beethoven's dullest major orchestral work. Now, we've had this discussion before when we talked about the Triple Concerto, and I said it was Beethoven's dullest major orchestral work. And all of you chimed in with, well, I like it, and it's nice, and it's pretty, and it's like, yes, we know that. I like it too. It's a very pretty piece of music. It's fine. It's still his dullest major orchestral work. That doesn't mean you can't like it. We just have to describe it accurately. And an accurate description of this work is a formal experiment. I mean, a work in classical concerto style for full orchestra and 3 soloists is going to not be terribly exciting and dramatic. And the reason is because, unlike his other works for solo instrument, and the reason is quite simply because everything has to be said 4 times. The orchestra's got to get the tunes, then each of the soloists is going to get the tunes. And Beethoven doesn't even go that far, to be honest, because the piano spends a lot of its time accompanying the violin and the cello. And the instrument that leads among the soloists is the cello, which, you could argue, is the least interesting of the 3 major solo instruments, because the violin is a soprano instrument with, known for its virtuosity and fireworks, and the piano is a piano. It's a whole massive harmony, a whole orchestra unto itself. I mean, it's lopsided in all kinds of ways. But what Beethoven was interested in doing in writing this work was not so much creating a work of thrilling, dramatic profundity or virtuoso fireworks and excitement, as, for example, his first 2 piano concertos. What he wanted to do was figure out how to make concerto form work, particularly first movement concerto form, because after that, things get a lot simpler. It's really kind of interesting because when you have a complete piano trio as your soloist, then you can oppose the orchestra to the full trio as like 2 units, or you can have the soloist operating against the orchestra or within the trio format. The possibilities are limitless. Does Beethoven exploit all of them? No, it's not really what he was interested in doing. What he wanted to do was write a first movement that somehow balanced the participation of all the forces in a satisfying way. And that is, like I said, it's a formal issue. It's not a dramatic issue. You can't say that there's anything in this music that specifically requires a full piano trio to work out what it's doing. Whereas in Beethoven's piano concertos, where you have real opposition between the piano and the orchestra, they're each doing their thing, and they meet and they clash and they get along sometimes and they don't get along at other times. It's a much more dynamic proposition. But if we accept what Beethoven is trying to do, what we wrote, what we write, what we get, what we find, pardon me, and looking at what he actually wrote, is a gracious, charming, rather like the Septet. It makes the perfect coupling because it's just a lovely work full of rather ordinary tunes until you get to the finale. That's a good tune. But the first movement, they're all marches. They're all little different march tunes. The slow movement is just an interlude that attaches to the finale. I mean, it's attractive, of course, and lyrical and nice, but Beethoven isn't really too concerned with writing profound slow movements with this piece either. He's just trying to get through the first movement. And he does it, and he does it successfully. I mean, he figures out what he wants to do, and he does it well. So we can enjoy it. We can enjoy it fine. But why is this one of the greatest recordings ever, therefore, of Beethoven's dullest major orchestral work? Well, the reason is because it's a fabulous performance, first of all. But second of all, it goes a long way to justifying Beethoven's methods. Normally, when we hear the Triple Concerto, and this came out in all of your comments previously, what I heard was, there's this beautiful performance by so-and-so and that beautiful performance. They're all beautiful. It's almost unkillable. It's unkillable because it's not trying to be anything in particular other than pretty. And so you get performances like Free Choice or Ormandy's or, anybody you want to pick who played it. And it turns out it's fine. It's fine. It's lovely. And it depends on how you respond to the soloist or the conductor, if you're particular fans of those artists. So you give it a deeper listening than you do with artists you care about less. But this performance is about the work. What I mean is it's more than merely pretty. And the reason it's more than merely pretty is because it uses a healthy dose of period instrument aesthetics, which doesn't mean that it's like scrawny and anemic and lacking vibrato and all that stuff. None of those things. But it has a fleetness, a lightness, a rhythmic sharpness, a dance-like quality. It's perfect for what the work is. It's not a piece that you want to milk for profound depths or tragic pathos or any of those things, because it's not there. It's not there. And if you try to do that, you wind up just making it boring and obnoxious. What this is a fresh, vibrant acceptance of the music on its own terms and a performance of it with all of the skill and talent and historical knowledge that we can plug into performances of Beethoven's major orchestral works. And the result is simply astoundingly new and fresh. And it will make those of you who do think it's Beethoven's dullest major orchestral work really enjoy it. I mean, that's what happened with me. I've enjoyed other performances of the Triple Concerto, some of them very much, but it's not a work that I seek out and want to hear. This made me want to hear it. That's speaking personally, of course. That's just me. But I really believe that this has something new and wonderful to say about what is, after all, one of Beethoven's major works. Boring or not, it's big, it's long, it's serious, it's a thing. And so you want to approach it with, wanting to hear a performance that really gives it the most idiomatic and effective possible frame in which to listen. And no one does better than this. It's really, really great. And the sonics are fabulous, too. So there you go. Isn't that a surprise? I was thrilled. I really was. And if you don't know this, you'll be too. I guarantee it. Even if you already have a few dozen others or love somebody else, trust me, you want to hear this. It's that different and that extraordinary. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.